What up, it's Brennan here, and today we're going to finally be talking about these frames, the Symetrics Flat Frame Aluminum. I really struggle to remember the name of this frame. I don't know why, I feel like it needed its own unique name. So what's so special about these frames? Symetrics calls these frames the premium version of their original Symetric frame. It has the exact same shape, the exact same groove, the exact same size as the original frame. Difference here being that it has an aluminum core. So unlike most frames in the market, these frames come in 4 pieces. The main piece being the solid aluminum frame. This is made out of a 7075 grade aluminum. I'm not too sure what that means, but as far as I know, it's the highest grade of aluminum in any frame out there right now. Then it also has 2 sliders and an H block, and these are made out of the infamous CNC machined plastic that Symetric makes all their frames out of. These frames are beautiful, and they are to the highest of quality, the most premium thing I've ever seen to do with rollerblades. But they are also very expensive, coming in at £250, pretty close to the price of most skates out there. So these are well and truly the most expensive frames I've ever seen. Now onto my experience with the frames. So if you know me at all, you know I came from the Solas, and straight away I can tell you that these frames are very different to the Solas. The first thing I noticed on my first session on these was that they felt longer and less maneuverable than the Solas. So that took a bit of getting used to, but once I was used to it, I actually found it better. It meant I was a lot more stable on landings and I wasn't getting all wobbly, you know. I was worried that it would cause me to lose my spins on short obstacles because I thought maybe I was spinning on the ground with the Solas, but no, that didn't change anything. If anything, it made it easier to land those because when you land, you actually landed. It is strange though, because as far as I know, it's got the exact same wheelbase as the Solas, but it definitely feels longer. Even recently, the trick that's got me off skating right now, because I got bruised heels from it, there was a few times when I was jumping the stair set where I would actually clip my wheels and hook, kind of like, you know, the infamous fall over from crossovers when you have a bigger frame. And yeah, I haven't experienced that on the Solas. But they both got 270mm wheelbase, so I don't know. But anyway, the other thing I noticed is they felt heavier as well. The Solas are a very light frame, so they pretty much make any frame feel heavy, but these definitely are not a light frame. Now groove-wise, these frames were amazing. I didn't have any trouble with wheel bite at all. There wasn't even like an adjustment period where I had to kind of relearn royales, so I wasn't getting wheel bite. The smaller groove just works. It's really hard to hit the wheels. So I can very confidently say this is a great frame for skating flat, which you shouldn't be surprised by because Symetrics has a cult following for that exact reason. I would go as far to say that I did prefer this groove over the Solas. It gave me a new piece of confidence that made me feel like I could really get confident in my front Nugens again. Where in the Solas, I used to just get rolled on front Nugens for no reason, and that lack of confidence is there because of that. But on these, I feel like I could get away with not getting directly in the groove without getting stuck or wheel bite and getting murdered, which is a nice thing to know for skating flat. That being said though, I did have trouble breaking these grooves in. Even to this day now, I've been skating them for a couple months now, the grooves still feel new. I still can grip in royales if like something isn't waxed. Like I can grip in royales and I just don't quite feel like I know the groove confidently for H block tricks. But that is just a testimonial to how strong and durable the plastic is. I just need to go skate something rough and actually break it in. The thing I like the most about these frames though was how much they brought back topsides for me. They really shone a light on how much more difficult topsides are on the Sola frames. You really need that piece of plastic to do topsides. It makes a huge difference. And this made skating a lot more fun for me. That is just further proof that plastic works when it comes to grinding. One thing that I did find I was doing quite often that was annoying me was I would slide out all the time just turning, because as I would turn, it wouldn't take much for the frame to hit the ground and you know, I'd slip out like a C-slide. And I think that's just because I came from the Solas. One of the biggest pros about those is that they're so thin that it's almost impossible to touch the frame when you turn. And then you can really get some tight turns, which is good for like skating bowl and stuff like that. But these are much more like a regular frame with the same thickness where you can't get away with very tight turns. I think this problem wouldn't be as bad if you were skating these frames on the adapts where you can have the bigger wheel, a 65 instead of a 60. I think that little bit extra wheel would make it harder to hit the frame walls, which makes sense. These frames are made for those skates, right? So that's where they're going to be best. If I had a Dremel, I'd probably Dremel out the sole plates on these if that's possible, so that I could actually fit a 65mm wheel, and I think that would make a big improvement to this frame on this skate. But that slipping out problem really brings to light a thing that I think you should all keep in mind if you're thinking about buying these frames, and that is the fact that it doesn't really take advantage of the metal core, not to the same extent that the Solas do anyway. Having an aluminum core in these frames would definitely add some responsiveness, but I think the full advantage of having the metal frame like that is the fact that you can slim it down, you can get a much more tighter and quicker, nicing feeling skate, and even these big plastic walls on the side really cuts out all the advantages for that there. In my opinion anyway. These frames have kind of made me miss my Sola frames, but not to the point where I want to actually change, because they make topsides fun, and I really miss topsides. So I think it's worth just trying to mentally adjust to not being able to turn so sharp just for that trade-off, you know? So who are these frames for? I think these frames are for the person who right now is already skating their original Symetric frames and absolutely loves them, and just wants to have an upgrade where they get a little bit more responsiveness and strength in their frame. This frame is not for the person wanting to try out the metal frame craze happening right now, because I do not believe that these frames take full advantage of having a metal core. If you are looking for a metal frame, I would recommend getting the Solas instead. They're a much better price, and they take way more advantage of having a metal core. You'll get much more of that metal frame feeling with those. Now, do I recommend the Symetrics Flat Frame Aluminum? If you're thinking about getting these frames, I would highly recommend that you just get the original Symetrics. I really don't think the price matches the added benefits you get by having the aluminum core in these frames. You get an almost identical performing frame for a much cheaper price if you just go for the original Symetrics frame. Unless, like I said earlier, you're already skating the normal Symetric frame and you absolutely love it and you just want to get the premium best version of that frame, then I'd say go for it. Peter and Olga have made an excellent product here. The quality is just insanely good. It's so precise and nice. So you definitely won't regret buying it if you're in that situation. I think if you're in a different situation and you aren't even sure if you like this shape of frame yet, then you probably will be disappointed, because you were spending a lot of money here, and if you don't end up liking that shape of that groove, you're not going to feel good at all. But yeah, huge shout out to my patrons and members. I couldn't do this without these guys. As well as a huge thank you to Peter and Olga for throwing in the Symetric wheels in my order when I paid for these. They're still going strong, so they seem like some great wheels, but that's unrelated. Anyway, that's about it. See ya.